So let's get into this real quick. All right. So Jesus was sitting on the mountain of Olives. The disciples came to him privately. Um, Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and when will the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end still is to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Right? So when you look at what I just read, you already see this happening. Right? And the thing about the Bible, especially in Revelations, it starts to reveal itself once you hit that period based off what's being said. You will not know when these things will happen, or even understand when it's like well away, right? In time wise, when it's like far away time wise. But once you get to that time period, you can easily point it out in the Bible. So based off what is said in these verses, I can say that's where we are. We already see many people claiming to be Christ. We've been seeing that for a while already. We've been seeing that for a while, right? And a lot of people been getting deceived, but it's a little bit something different about that. So I want you to take a mental note of that. We'll go back to that. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. So that's what we're starting here already. Wars and rumors of wars. It's already a war going on between Ukraine and Russia, but it hasn't turned into something large scale to where it's a world war. But we're hearing of that happening with people like North Korea, of course, China, Russia, the U.S., NATO, other countries like Iran and other players, right? We're hearing rumors of that, but it has not yet happened, right? So he's saying, do not be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. See, a lot of people will say this is the tribulation period, but according to the scripture, they are way off, and that's why we have to follow scripture, folks, right? And even after, right, nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Now, this is going to be some devastating times, right? He's talking about famines, earthquakes, so natural disasters going to happen, right? Right? We're going to start seeing famines, and that should be the result of basically economic collapse, recession, depression. We see, like in the U.S., like we see inflation. Now we're starting to see a recession take place. And what do you think that's going to lead to? I learned a concept from Truth Unedited called stagflation, where you have high interest rates along with high inflation. So people are going to be out of work and can't afford to buy nothing. And once the dollar crashes, that's going to affect other countries. And a lot of these countries are already poor. And so if they get hit even more, it's going to cause famines, even famines here in the U.S. and other so-called Western first world countries. And as a result of that, including all the bloodshed from the wars, right? Let's talk about the wars. You're talking about World War III, but also what we would call civil war, race wars, right? Nation rising against nation. Truth Unedited said that was really talking about race. So if it's a race war in the U.S. and political civil war, it's going to be a lot of bloodshed. And a lot of people's going to think that's the tribulation period, but it's not. That's the beginning of birth pains. Now in King James, it says the beginning of sorrows. And I'm reading from the NIV. I don't recommend you do that, but I know a lot of people don't understand King James, so I'm trying to keep it simple. For those who don't really understand the Bible, not used to it, you probably need something simple. But eventually, once you get skilled in the Bible or skilled enough, you need to get a King James, in my personal opinion. So that lets you know this is the beginning of sorrow. Even though it's going to be a lot of death from the famines, the natural disasters, and the earthquakes, and the wars, right? It's only the beginning of sorrows. It's only the beginning of birth pains, right? And we're going to get to the actual tribulation period, right? Let's go here real quick, right? We're going to skip to 15, right? This is when the tribulation period is going to happen, right? This is the marker, right? This is the key event that's going to happen. So when you see standing in the holy place, the abomination that causes desolation spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. So who's he talking about? So in Daniel chapter 7, right, is basically talking about the Antichrist. He's going to be speaking against God, claiming to be God, speaking against the Most High, right? So after this happens, this event happened, he's telling people to pretty much, get out, leave, right? Right? For there will be distress unequal, right? This is verse 21. For there will be great stress unequal from the beginning of the world until now and never to be equal again. Folks, this is the tribulation period, brother. This is the tribulation period. The key event is once the Antichrist arrives, the man of sin arrives, that will be the beginning of the tribulation period. It's going to be things leading up to him that's going to happen. Christians will be getting persecuted. There will be war and bloodshed, right? And a lot of people say Christ is coming. Christ is not coming, right? Because Christ is not coming because the Antichrist hasn't arrived yet, and the tribulation has to happen after the arrival of the Antichrist, right? Right? So that's what people have to understand. So I want to go back to let me read on a little bit more, because like I said, I'm gonna go back to a verse I mentioned before. So let me read a little bit more. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, there he is, don't believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs, right? And miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. So I ask y'all a question. What's the difference? I want to ask y'all a question. It is, what's the difference between the false Christ here, right? The false Christ and false prophets after the tribulation, which we already talked about, right? After the Antichrist arrives, which is the tribulation period. The Christ that arrives after this, right? What's the difference between these false Christs versus people claiming to be Christ before, and people claiming to be false prophets during that time? Huh? What's the difference? The difference is, and you see in verse 11, people claiming to be false prophets, and that's going to be even after all the war and stuff. But what's the difference? The difference is, it says it right here. It's not I believe, it's right here. These false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles. All right? And I think a lot of these beings won't even be human, right? Some of them will, and they will be operating out of the full power of Satan. But a lot of them won't even be human. A lot of them will be fallen angels and different breeds of demons. A lot of them will be what we call aliens. They will come as gods of different religions, deceiving many, saying, I'm your God, I'm the one you've been worshiping. Or the aliens going to come say, hey, we are the gods, we are the original creators, right? Serve us, right? We the ones that created the Bible and all that kind of stuff. And these beings will be so powerful, their deception will be so powerful that even those who are sealed up in God will be deceived, right? And so I believe God will have to protect even the ones who are sealed in his name from being deceived, man. That's how strong these evil beings will be. And keep in mind, once again, I talk about all these supernatural creatures coming, right? I know that during the tribulation period, he says this time will be like the time of Noah. And during the time of Noah, right, that's in Genesis chapter 6, the giants were running around. The Nephilim. A lot of people don't believe in that, but I'm not going to get into all that, right? Because it said in Sodom and Gomorrah, those people, they were trying to have sex with angels. So that's possible, right? And it says the sons of God, right, came into the daughters of who? Man, and created hybrids, the Nephilim, right? And these were heroes, men of renown, heroes of old, right? And that's where a lot of that Greek mythology comes from, right? Those Greek gods and the Titans and all that kind of stuff comes from that. Those legends. And other cultures also talks about legends of these people, because the Nephilim ran all the societies around the world. Everywhere you go in ancient societies, they talk about these giants, man. It's not a coincidence. These giants have power and wisdom, all kinds of stuff, right? They're coming back, man. Not to mention, I know that there are going to be zombies coming, dinosaurs, right? Not to mention all the marines, abominable sea creatures that's around. So it's going to be all kind of stuff that I haven't even named. I'm not even aware of. It's going to be horrible times because we're going to be dealing with beings that's non-human, right? And who wants to be around during this time trying to get right with the Lord? I'm not, right? That scares the hell out of me. And that's the best I could do, trying to get people to get right, is to put fear in you of this period coming. And then fear of going to hell. That's all I got. I know it's more than that, right? But fear, that's not wrong, because in Philippians 2:12, it says, work out your own salvation in fear and trembling. And that's the best I got for you, right? And I know, and to be honest, I did have times, a lot of times, where I taste the goodness of the Lord. He answered my prayers, right? And it felt like, you know what? No place is better than being in your presence. I had a lot of those times. But it's not easy walking in the Lord, right? It's not always easy denying sin. Sin feels good, right? It's fun sometimes, but it leads to death and destruction. That's the truth. You end up in hell, and then if you don't repent, you still on earth, you got to go through this period. Imagine trying to do a crash course and trying to, gain salvation during this period. You ain't going to be able to do it. You're going to have zombies chasing after you, giants chasing after you. You got these fallen angels trying to deceive you, aliens trying to deceive you and abduct you, all kind of crazy stuff, brother. Right? That's why he said that. Right? This will be a time of great distress, right? Unequaled, man. So this time it's going to be way worse than the time that we're leading up to, right? Right? It's going to be way worse than all this stuff I just mentioned of nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and famines and disasters. As bad as it is, as bad as that is, this time's gonna be worse, way worse, folks. So it's getting bad out there. That's why I'm trying to get myself right. I love to have fun, do all that kind of stuff, but you know what? And I don't want that to lead me to this, or ending up in that lake of fire, man. Right? So that's just the truth. So let me go here real quick. Right? So I want to make a point. So during this time, the reason why he said, and this is for people who believe in the Bible, he want to caution you, to those who end up getting left here, right? That these days are going to be so bad that he has to shorten those days. And during this time, people will be so desperate to get out and just meet Christ and go to heaven, that these same supernatural beings will be posing as Christ and performing miracles, deceiving people, tricking people. So what I'm trying to say is, why you got all these Nephilim and zombies trying to get you, and then you got the Antichrist, you know who he is, right? You're going to have these same beings coming from that same pack, that same batch, saying, "Oh man, I'm the Christ. I can save you from the Antichrist." When they still on the same side, they're gonna say, "Oh, the Christ is over there, right? He's in the mountain somewhere. He's gonna be looking like an angel of light. He's gonna be looking like, he's some kind of God, because he's gonna do great things." But the fact that somebody has to tell you he's over there lets you know that that's false. That's why Jesus is telling you now, right? That's why he's telling you, see, I have told you ahead of time so you don't fall from this. But because people are going to be desperate, man, in the tribulation period. Desperate, man. They're going to be desperate to get that over with. They're going to be desperate for the Lord to come. So they're going to be susceptible to fall for anything, brothers. Right? And so he's trying to warn us now. Like, how do we know when God is coming? Huh? He tells you in verse 27. All right? For as lightning that comes from the east is visible, even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Right? That's how you know when the Son of Man's coming. Everybody's going to be able to see him. It's going to be easy to see him coming. Everybody in the world is going to be able to see him. Nobody's going to need to be informed that he's here or there. You're going to be able to see him coming from the clouds, folks. But like I said, I don't want to be around during this time. And I know for y'all Christians, a lot of y'all don't. But this is a reality that we have to deal with. Right? It ain't just about, I'm talking to the people who believe. It ain't just about being good people and being blessed, man. It ain't just about being good people to others. Right? It's really about really having that strong relationship with the Lord. Now, I'm not completely sure about the rapture, but that's what I'm praying about, that I can make it, right? And that's what we need to pray about. We don't want to be here, but even if we are, unfortunately, to be left in the tribulation period, we want to build enough foundation to where we can stand strong, right? This is Mr. Shepherd, and I'm out.